supply.
Oh, okay.
Be careful heading down this direction not to trip over these raised rails. They go down and over, or don't hit your head here on these gauges. Two missileers, 24-hour shift, two consoles. One was on duty, one was off, so they both didn't have to stay awake for the full 24 hours. One of the perks to get people to sign up for this missileer duty was a master's degree, compliments of the Air Force. So a lot of the former missileers I've had say that that's why they volunteered for this duty. They wanted to get that college degree. Off-duty person was often studying. There is a bunk on the other side for napping. TV back here. They could have brought reading material, exercise equipment. One fellow brought his cello down to do some practicing. It was about 160 laps around this central deal to make a quarter mile. Whoever was on duty was seated here. They had to keep the two panels of lights and the paper printout in view at all times. These are Oscar's 10 primary silo sites. They always worked with a sister site. They always watched 20 missiles instead of their own 10. Those silo sites had motion detectors and vibration detectors. What they wanted to see was the top row lit up green. That was called clean and green, meant everything was fine. If a red light came on in the security row, that meant something had tripped a detector. These lights told them if the action had occurred in the inner zone or the outer zone. And that's all they could see back in those days. Missileer would have called upstairs to the controller. The other two on the security team were sent out with a checklist. Usually when they got there, everything looked fine. They had to check the site anyway. Took them about half an hour. Biggest culprit was small animals. Could have been somebody just parking on the approach. Could have been rain, hail, or swirling snow. Maybe a big bird flew in. Maybe a tractor working close by. Next row up, fault row. A red light would indicate a mechanical problem. They'd get a printout and code. If it was something they couldn't fix from here, they'd most likely have to call the base for maintenance and security teams. These other rows of lights would have gone on had they ever gotten the order to launch. This panel allowed incoming messages from SAC headquarters down at Offutt Air Force Base near Omaha. This box had to do with the elevator area. They would press this yellow button to unlock that door we came through. Rails anchored the seats down, allowed them to scoot back and forth and reach their equipment. They were not belted in all the time. They would have had they been expecting hits. The red box contained 3 items, the authentication codes and the 2 keys. We've got the keys displayed on the lower right-hand panel of each console. And they would have gone in the little keyhole right behind that plastic guard. These locks were donated. Each missileer was issued his or her own lock. They kept them with them. Only they knew the combination. They usually kept them clipped to their TO bags or technical order bags, so they could not forget them when they reported for duty. We do have a couple of those bags here that are also donated. Loud in this capsule as well. All the fans running for cooling, all the humming of the machinery, and strange sounds like this going off from time to time. This one would indicate a certain type of message was about to come in. More communication equipment here. That was like a teletype, modem, encryption device, 8-inch floppies. Some of this has been updated, some still is the same. The only thing I know is They now have monitors on their consoles so they don't have to send that security team out for every rabbit that runs by. Commander's console. Had they ever gotten an order to launch, all 5 flights within this squadron would have received an identical order. Missileers would have taken the items out of the box and compared things from the authentication codes to things in the order. This is the enabling panel. Enabling code would have been entered here. We don't have the switch. First sight, commander would have done a 3, 2, 1 mark countdown. Missileers would have turned their keys simultaneously to send the first boat to launch. Second team would have gone through a process. The turning of their keys would have set the second boat to launch, which would have triggered the final countdown. They could have launched 1 or all 50 missiles in the squadron. The Minuteman IIIs had 3 warheads on each that could hit 3 separate targets. In early years, separate targeting teams had to go down into the silos to target. Later years, the commander could have punched new codes into the keyboard and retargeted right from here. They did not know the destination of their targets. High stress, high turnover job. Their training began out at Vandenberg Air Force Base in Southern California and continued when they were assigned to their wings. They were expected to get 100% on all the tests of their knowledge of their job. They were also constantly psychologically tested.
So after 2 votes, that would be, they could launch all 50, or 3 could be launched, or 5, depending on the vote, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess so. Down here, had there been outgoing missiles, likely there were incoming missiles. That's all, folks. Up here, they could daydream about Cinnamon Bay and the Virgin Islands. And up here, on the beam, right above your heads, Captain Walter Loving signed his name, just like those people signed back by the doorway. He pulled the last alert of his career the day before deactivation. With over 320 alerts, it's more than anyone else who signed in here. He worked just about 4 years at this job. We know that final mural was painted by one of the deputies stationed here. Each site had a mascot. Oscar the Grouch became the mascot here, and he represents the deputy with 1 silver bar. First lieutenant. The eagle represents the commander as a captain with 2 bars. Badges and patches on their uniforms resemble the ones they earned as they worked through their career. 448 on their caps is their squadron number. They were named the Minuteman missiles because they could be launched in just a few minutes. Up at the top, who you gonna call from Ghostbusters? Where it says, hey, this is a job for, somebody penciled in there, yo mama. That red